The Monte and the Pharaoh Show is brought to you by...
Because wine is your second favorite four-letter word. California wine, New York attitude. Good fucking wine.
Yeah.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. This is the Afternoon Underdogs right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Fun Friday continues on. Me and Caveman Rick just had a little bit of a heated debate. He thinks that awesome. Nick Saban left because of, or ran. He ran, not just left, but ran from the NIL and the transfer portal. I just disagree, man. I feel like if he felt like he had enough energy in the tank, he would have stood up to that, and like he was doing well with it as it was, man.
It takes a lot more energy to lose than it is to win.
I think he ran out of fingers.
Yeah, there we go. That's a good way to put it right there. It was a fun conversation, though, but we're going to continue it on, recapping Money in the Bank and all kind of great things. We got Jimmy Pharaoh. We've got Coach Brian Haddad in the building with us. Monte is on the line. So, Coach Brian, take it over, man. Let's talk some wrestling, baby.
Oh, I love this. You know I love this. Monte and the Pharaoh joining us again. Guys, I say it every time, but if you're not following Monte and the Pharaoh on YouTube, Facebook, watch them on Cablevision. Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Over on that Eastern time zone. You know, you guys have to do everything an hour early, you know, but whatever. I do want to get into last night, though. You guys had a great guest last night. Well, let me welcome Monte into the show. Monte, how you doing today?
Wonderful, man. We're looking forward to another episode of the Afternoon Underdogs with Pharaoh and the coach.
There you go. Well, let's talk about last night. You know, you guys, obviously, you go back and check the back catalog. You guys have had wonderful, wonderful guests and, you know, great wrestling discussion. But last night, you had a guy who maybe to some of the younger viewers may not know as well, but they really should. Guy's been around in wrestling for, 40-plus years. I remember him as a part of the Killer Bees with Jumpin' Jim Brunzell. But Brian Blair on the show. Maybe you talk a little bit about, having Blair on last night and how it went.
Brian Blair is one of those guys in the business that are true blue, real gentlemen. Not just a great wrestling career, but more importantly, a great person. Currently the president of the Cauliflower Alley Club. He does a lot of work behind the scenes for the wrestlers who are struggling. And unfortunately, guys, there's plenty of them. Unfortunately. He's done a lot of amazing work for people in need. The families of wrestlers who may be passed on. He's just a great, great guy. He's a self-proclaimed, just like a lot of people are. He's a born-again Christian, but he's the real deal.
Yeah.
He's not one of those that just get on TV, flash a smile, and then start dancing like an idiot.
Yeah.
He's
Baby Billy's Baba
Brother Billy Baba Boopa. Yeah.
Praise be to he.
Yeah, none of that going on. Just a great guy, and that was one of my favorite interviews. And it amazes me, after doing this for years with my partner Mike here, it amazes me that just when you get burnt out sometimes with it, along comes a guest like Brian Blair and just makes it all worthwhile. Mike, what did you think last night?
Couldn't agree more, Jimmy. Quite the gentleman, great human being, most importantly. I could tell in your voice how much he meant to you. So, and I feel exactly the same way. Incredible.
Yep.
Incredible human being.
Well, guys, last time we met, we were talking going into Money in the Bank, and, WWE's been on this incredible run, and I think they still are, but perhaps maybe, I think a miss is the wrong term for the show, but let's just say not everything was firing on all cylinders. Had, a few little trip-ups, botches, things like that. It wasn't maybe quite as much of a knock-it-out-of-the-park show as we'd seen on the previous PLEs, but kind of wanted y'all's overall thoughts maybe on Money in the Bank, and then we'll go maybe specifically through the matches.
Most of the time, I'm very, very supportive of WWE products, especially their premium live events. God, I finally said that. To me,
I like PPV so much.
Yeah, I know. But honestly, and you're being very nice about it, I thought it sucked.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of lame. I was very disappointed. I gave it a C. I never do that. Usually I'm anywhere from a B to an A plus, depending on it. But there was just too many things about it I didn't care for. Some of the booking decisions I thought were an absolute joke. There was some real botches.
Yeah.
One of major.
Oh, it was a major one.
I don't know if you want to take us through matches, whatever you want to do here, but there was definitely, it wasn't what I'm used to. And I actually at one point texted to Mike, I want Vince.
Oh, no. So the first black eye for Triple H then.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd call it a black eye. It's more like he's tripped and skinned his knee.
Okay,
I'm being a little rough,
strawberry.
about it, but I was not happy with it.
I think that's right. I think when I called you and we talked about it, or so I said, I think this is Triple H's first miss.
Right.
So, Mike, what did you think overall?
Well, I guess I'm the idiot in the room. I enjoyed it immensely. I thought, there were botches, but overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a very good PPE. So,
hey, wait a minute, Mike. You gave it a B. You gave it a B.
I gave it a B, Jimmy, and I'm letting Coach lead the way here. But we spoke about the women's match. I loved it. You hated it.
Right.
The women's match was big time for me. Damian Priest. Well, let's just get into it. I don't want to run amok. All right.
That was the women's match, Damian Priest.
Well, that's kind of what I want to start with. So, match of the night for each of us. I'll kind of lead off with.
Sure.
I actually, when I initially watched it, I was kind of with Mike. I thought the women's Money in the Bank match, to me, it had the best high spots.
That's true.
And so immediately after, that would have been my pick. Now, I went back and watched it again, and to be perfectly honest, the match that grew on me the second time that didn't the first was actually the men's Money in the Bank match itself. Extremely tight, clean, and maybe because there were little botches in every other match, but tight, clean. Don't know that I loved the decision because of what would happen later, but I thought that match really did. So I'm probably going to lean that way. So, Jimmy, what was probably your favorite match of the night?
It's really a reflection on my lack of enthusiasm for the pay-per-view. I actually thought that the men's match at the end was the most serviceable. When I'm using
the tag match.
Yeah, when I'm using serviceable, you better watch out. That's my polite way of saying, well, this was the best of a bunch of nonsense for the most part. I just wasn't that big on this pay-per-view. Yes, there were some really good high spots in the women's match. There were. But it was nothing, it wasn't a spectacular match. It's not something I'm going to remember years from now. It's not something I'm going to talk about years from now. Yeah. So, I look for things like that. A great match should be something that great match. The term great match gets thrown around all over the place nowadays.
Like
everything's a classic.
Like Dynasty.
Everything's a classic. Dynasty, right. Yeah. When are we going to see a dynasty in baseball again?
We're never going to see dynasties again.
Because
you need to win 3 or more to be a dynasty.
Yeah, the words get thrown around all the time.
2 really good ones. Back to back, and 3 out of 4 years. Give you that.
Right.
What do you think, Mike? You still sticking with the women's match for you?
Well, I'm gonna stick with the women's. And I chose Chelsea Green to win it, but she had a coming out party. She was fantastic in that match, and Tiffy time.
Yes.
Again, Jimmy says, what's a standout match that you remember? Well, let's be honest. I don't think there's one match under Triple H's regime that we remember anything. And this is going on for years now.
He's got a point.
I mean, this is the new wrestling, right? It's,
point.
The last match I really remember is Andre and Hogan, to be honest.
Hey, there you go.
So, wow. There you go.
There's been a few in between, Mike.
All right. Let me ask you guys this, because we had talked a little bit on the lead-in that I felt like Money in the Bank was getting kind of, it was too soon after King of the Ring, which also had championship match implications. Well, on the men's match, they obviously decide to do an immediate cash in. Now, botch aside, we'll get to that later. Did we waste the Money in the Bank briefcase, or do we care?
No, we wasted it. I think we wasted it. What is the point? One of the best things about Money in the Bank is the suspense after the winner gets that briefcase. Right. Because you have a full calendar year to cash this briefcase in. Okay? For the sake of a quick, instant gratification thing.
To tell a story they've already told.
Yeah. And the story doesn't need the briefcase.
That's right.
That's the most important part. But here, McIntyre gets that briefcase, cashes it in on the same night, loses. because he's in the middle of this great feud with Punk.
Yeah.
Punk doesn't need the briefcase. McIntyre doesn't need the briefcase. The storyline doesn't need the briefcase. So you just took something that could have been milked like a big fat cow with perfection for the next calendar year, and you threw it away on the same night.
Cut the udders right off of the cow.
Yeah, you basically, holy moo. This is strawberry milk. What kind of cow is this? You know what I mean? No, bad.
Yeah.
I thought that was terrible.
What about you, Mike?
Not necessary.
I'm gonna go with what I said last time I was on the show. I don't understand how long can you continue to do this to McIntyre.
Yeah.
At what point does Punk become the bad guy here? I mean, in common sense and society, you're looking at this guy, McIntyre, who's been robbed and cheated for the last 2 years, whether it be the Bloodline, CM Punk. When is this guy going to get his, ounce of flesh?
Right.
So I was really shocked they pulled the CM Punk card. I didn't mind him cashing in, but, at what point does McIntyre win this?
Yeah.
And to go to Jimmy's point, maybe never.
Never.
So I don't know.
Matter of fact, I sliced his tires. He just pulled that into the parking lot. He was supposed to be on this show with us. McIntyre can't even get through the door.
I had this thought when they just announced Bad Blood is returning. It's going to be, 27 years or whatever to the day of the original Bad Blood with Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, and Kane. Okay. And I would imagine, obviously, you have to have a Hell in a Cell there, and it just looks tailor-made for Drew and Punk.
Right.
And I'm sure they will, because Punk is very big about leading to a moment. He would never let them start with a Hell in the Cell, right out. So I just have this feeling it's going to end there for those guys. Let me get to another one that I'm sure is going to make Jimmy's head explode.
Coach, can I just say one thing?
Yeah,
one
absolutely.
Thing. Here's where the WWE and Triple H are making their mistake. We're all assuming that CM Punk can actually compete with Drew McIntyre.
That's right.
I'm talking about real wrestling. CM Punk is proven to be looking old, looking tired.
It's fragile.
And I think in the end, this is a big mistake. He can't handle McIntyre. And I'm talking about, fake, orchestrated wrestling. Athletic-wise, McIntyre is 10 times bigger. Sorry to cut you off.
No, I think that's a great point.
You hate him.
And
he hates CM Punk. He'll find anything he can to hate on CM Punk. Those stupid tattoos. Pepsi, I like Coke.
Mike, you're going to appreciate this because you know how hard Jimmy's head's about to explode here.
No.
Let me ask the next question. Should Braun Breaker have won?
Jerk. Jerk. Come on, Mike. Come on, Mike.
Oof.
What do you guys think?
I'm not answering this, bro. You guys.
Yes, you are. Come on. We need content for next Thursday.
Braun Breaker should have not only won the match, Zayn should have left on a stretcher. What is this garbage? Sami Zayn pinning Braun Breaker. That was just garbage. And nobody in this room thought that was going to happen. No. And sometimes that annoys me. It's like we've got to have one match that just shocks everybody. Well, I don't think that was the one to do it with. That's a terrible decision. I can't stand it. We've now had Sami Zayn, who coach looks like Hulk Hogan standing next to Sami Zayn. We have Sami Zayn beating Gunther after the longest Intercontinental title reign in the history of this business, 666 days. We haven't beaten the German machine Gunther, and then we now have, with a straight face, you're going to tell me that he can beat Steiner's kid. Yeah. I think Caveman would put Zayn through a table in a split second.
I love it.
What are we doing?
I agree
here?
that.
Oh no, man! I'm not that big of a dude. But
you don't need to be. This is Sammy we're talking about. You don't need to be. You just got to have some attitude.
All right.
So you got some attitude.
I got that.
He's got plenty of that.
But Jimmy,
he's our baby kicker.
In the upper deck.
Yeah, no doubt. Think about that kid.
So what we talked about is I agree with you that I think they should have gone on and put Braun over. However, I actually think there is a story
there is.
for what they're doing.
Yeah,
so I don't mind it probably as much as you do. I do think there was a better way to do it, but I like the story they're telling about he's young. Like, he's a phenomenon, but he's young. But every time they do something to him, he learns instantly.
Right.
Like, they can't hit him the second time with it. Pinning him clean didn't make sense to me, but I think they can tell a story here with the wily veteran, getting one up on the new big thing.
The only thing that I will find acceptable with Breaker struggling, is as if one vignette they have, he's in the locker room, and you can see that you finally can maybe see a little personality coming out of him, that he's frustrated.
Yeah.
Like he's putting his boots on and he's like staring at his locker and he's really disillusioned. How am I not beating these guys?
Yeah.
Okay. And then when he turns around, Paul Heyman's standing there. Says, kid,
Okay.
I think you and I should have a discussion. Okay. I can live with that. But I hear Mike moaning in the background.
Well, Mike wants Paul to come back with somebody else,
that's
as do
obvious.
I.
But I'm just saying, though, if you're going to have this kid lose and you want there to be a storyline where he figures everything out and you want guidance from someone, I think Heyman is the perfect candidate to manage a machine, a killer like Braun Breaker. That's just my opinion.
And Jimmy, you always pull that Heyman card.
I do.
Get a guy over, bring in Heyman. Got to bring in Heyman.
Yeah.
Let's call it like it is. Everybody was like, well, Braun Breaker's winning the IC title. Everybody. So there's Shawn Michaels, there's Triple H going, let's let him pin Breaker, and we'll really tell these smart marks what it's all about. Have a good day. That's what it was all about.
They sounded just like that, too. I bet they did. I got a great idea, Sean. What's that, Paul?
That sounds like Pinky at the Brave for some reason.
I think let's have him lose and just screw up everybody. I can see that. Oh, boy.
Hey, we're going to go ahead and ride to a break and continue this fun segment on. We've got some personalized questions for you guys as well. A little tag team match between Jimmy and Monte. We'll be right back, though. This is the Afternoon Underdogs right here on ESPN Northwest Florida.
For 7 years, ESPN Northwest Florida has been your destination on the Panhandle for the Atlanta Braves.
He just blew the doors off that thing.
But our listeners are the real MVP.
Another dominating performance.
So this year, we're giving away more tickets to Truist Park than ever before. Keep listening to win family 4-packs to experience the Atlanta Braves. From ESPN Northwest Florida, PCB Hobby, Pepsi, Fairfield, Hampton Inn on Thomas, and Home 2 Suites.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Friday. Clear tonight with a wind at 7 miles per hour out of the west and a low of 82. Tomorrow morning, look for a light breeze and sunshine with a temperature near 90. The afternoon and evening, a high around 90 and a possibility of thunderstorms and mostly sunshine. Sunday, hot with a high of 91 and sunshine. This weather forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Did you know that fees associated with real estate closings are virtually the same from one title company to the next? So what sets South Oak Title apart? Effective communication, customer service, expertise, and technology. If you're buying or selling real estate, refinancing a residential or commercial property, tell your realtor you want to close with South Oak Title. South Oak Title, with locations across the Southeast, including Panama City Beach, Inlet Beach, Destin, and Fort Walton Beach. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
With over 65 years of combined experience, Instant Replay Sports Cards is happy to help you take your collection to the next level. They carry all the new hobby boxes, signed memorabilia, and supplies. New and vintage cards in Pokemon. They sell and trade cards and are always looking to buy. They're an authorized source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports. It can always be reached at InstantReplaySportsCards.com.
Karen bought 83 liters of Dr. Thunder, a suitcase full of Cheez-Its, and a drum of Crisco. Now she's crying about using the self-check at Walmart.
Maybe we should speak to a manager or something.
Just saying. ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. This is our final segment of the week. If you have any topics or questions or thoughts for Monte, Pharaoh, Coach Brian Haddad, text him in to 85 or call 850. Just text him 850-215-6290. I'm going to throw it back to Coach Brian Haddad because time flies when you're having fun, and we have a lot of fun with these segments.
Well, I mean, we could go on and on about that premium live event forever, but I wanted to get to what happened the next night. So, okay, maybe for the first time in a while, sentiment is a little meh coming out of a PLE. We've got a Raw, and all they do, look, it's often been described, wrestling's been described as a soap opera for men. And the way that Raw ended, it just epitomized that so well. We've got Dominic Mysterio, who's the most hated person on earth, with Liv Morgan, who is playing the succubus, if you will, just trying to lure him in.
That's a great word.
Oh yeah, and look, they're finally embracing it. Looks like maybe Dom's going to slip up, get a little smoochy smooch, and Rhea's music hit. I have to admit, Mike, I popped up off the couch like a 10-year-old. I thought it was hysterical. They told the story perfect, and I'm like, run, Dom, run. What do we think about this? They brought it back a night later or 2 nights later, but Rhea Ripley is a megastar.
Yeah, she's fantastic. She's great. And yes, that was awesome. You know, it's always nice that when you do have that occasional sluggish premium live event that Raw makes up for it. And I think that they did. Yeah. I thought that was great. Mike, did you jump out of your chair when you saw the great Rhea Ripley, the woman of all your affections in life?
I've got to make a statement. This possibly might be the greatest pro wrestling storyline I've seen in the last 30 years.
It's so good.
But me and Jimmy were speaking about this on Thursday, Coach. Does social media, social media helps wrestlers, but does social media now, with these guys showing they're getting married, they're married, is it ruining the storyline?
I think to people who really, really follow it, maybe. But I'm aware Dom is married. I'm aware Rhea just got married. Right. I don't even know if Liv's married or not. She might be. Right. I know she's got a significant other. Right. It didn't matter to me. I got so sucked into the way they told. First of all, Liv Morgan is underrated in how she has played this role. She's done it
great.
Well.
I've become a fan of hers. I wasn't before all of this.
You're right in that. Would it be so much better if we didn't know all of this? Yeah.
It would be.
That genie's not going back in the bottle, but they told this story so well, I popped for it. So
yeah, I agree with Mike, though. I would much rather have
it'd be so much
keep their stuff to themselves. You know, we were discussing it last night on the show, and I said to Mike on the show, if you have public heels and faces, good guys and bad guys, and they want to hang out together or they want to do it, have a private barbecue. You all have mansions. You know what I mean? It's not like these wrestlers that work for WWE ain't making no money. Have a private barbecue. There's a little bucket when you get in the house. You take your cell phone, you put it in there, and the good guys and the bad guys can all throw up together after their 47th beer. Yeah. We don't need to know what every last thing. But I also pointed out, I've seen it in the past year or two, really used a lot, when you're having a feud with somebody, you go on and you tweet something about them.
Yeah.
Now, how am I supposed to buy into this? Did you hear what Hulk Hogan said about you on X?
Yeah, but Hulk saying something.
It's just, to me, it's just lame, but you look past it, so it doesn't affect me that much. I've grown numb to it.
It's new age wrestling. The wrestlers are different now. The Vince McMahon attitude doesn't work anymore. But I would tell you, if Vince was running this angle, you wouldn't know that Rhea was married. You wouldn't know Dom was married.
Right.
You would have said, squash it.
Right.
Keep it on, show it when you're 40.
Right. Brian Epstein instructed, Brian Epstein was the manager of the Beatles. Yeah. He instructed Lennon, do not let anybody know that you're married to Cynthia. Mm-hmm. You will not let the world know that one of the Beatles is married.
It would have worked really well if they'd have done it with the second wife, too.
Oh, that would have been great. Do not acknowledge Yoko Ono. Okay, no problem. Everybody would have been on board with that one. But it's the truth, though. I mean, it was bad business. It was bad for business. The Beatles were the poster boys in the wet dream, and I kept that clean, of every American girl back in 1964 when they landed here. So the last thing you want to do is have you seen John's wife? They were like, oh, what do you mean? It would be a lot more effective because Mike's recollection of the end of Raw was hilarious to me. He's like, he's on top of Liv, and the first thing I thought was, oh, come on, Rhea just got married. She don't care.
Yeah.
And it's a great point.
Yeah.
Some things we don't need to know.
Right. Yeah.
That was great.
I mean, I was just thinking about when you were talking about the Beatles there. I feel like if that was in today's world and someone's got a wife, it almost gives the other girls more incentive to go after.
Right. In today's world, the wife goes on herself on the internet. I'm John Lennon's wife, and if you come near him, you know what I mean. It's just, it's all changed. So it's for the element of surprise.
Maybe Taylor Swift should have stayed single.
Uh-oh.
You know?
Don't talk about the Swifties, man.
Mike is very worried when you bring up Taylor Swift. We'll get canceled. So let's be careful here. Taylor Swift sucks.
We will swiftly move on.
There we go.
That's why he's the host, folks.
There you go. Very well.
We got a question in from Kyle Albritton. We've got a tag team match.
Okay.
It's it's Pharaoh versus Monte.
What?
You got to pick your tag team partner.
Me versus my partner?
Yeah, you're exactly.
Do we get to train for this?
Well, yeah, sure. Sure. You get as much time as you need.
We're talking all time here.
Yeah, all time. You pick your tag partner, and Monte gets
Mike,
to pick
you go
his.
first. Who's your partner against me in this this legendary feud we're having?
I'm going to go with the great Bob Backlund because I could only last in the ring about 10 seconds, so Bob can carry most of the load. And you know Bob could go for hours, so I'll go with Bob Backlund on this.
I like it. Monte with the hot tag.
Yeah, I appreciate the realism here.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you some real realism. Pharaoh likes to win. Okay? My tag team partner is Andre the Giant.
I figured one of you would go Andre.
Yeah, I'm going Andre because I don't care how untired Backlund gets. I'm going to tag to Andre, and he's going to go in there and eat him. And that's going to be the end of that.
But this is what you forgot, Jimmy.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Andre only likes certain people, and I don't think Andre would have liked you.
You're right. You're right. Baby oil. Yeah. He probably wouldn't like me, but you know what, though? If he's being paid for it, he'll learn to like me for 4 or 5 minutes.
There you go.
Yeah, that's all it's going to take, 4 or 5 minutes.
That's how that will go, you know.
I like it.
So there you go. Where did you? Was that Kyle?
I like that question.
That's a great question,
Coach,
Kyle.
who would be if you had a tag team match? You're going up against Caveman Rick. Who would be your partner, and then Rick? Who's your? Yeah,
Well, so I guess we're in the cruiserweight division here. Golly, that's really good. I mean, I don't know. It'd be hard. It'd be hard not to pick somebody like Stone Cold. He was my guy. So I'll just take Stone Cold Steve Austin with me.
For me, man, like back in the day. All right, it's between two. I think I would either do Rowdy Roddy or Jake the Snake.
You're definitely playing the heel here.
But,
I like that.
But Jake might not show up.
Well, that's true.
But I don't expect you to know that about Jake, but he might not show up.
I got the Snake, though. He didn't show up. This little story, though, is a guy used to play roller hockey here in town. I can't remember his name. That would save my life. But, he's from down the Sarasota area originally. Mm-hmm. Jake the Snake Roberts was, his best man at his wedding.
Oh. Okay, so you probably could get Jake the Snake. Just name drop the guy that you can't remember the name of.
Exactly right. Some guy he sold
John Doe.
This guy that sold medical products or something.
Oh, well, that's why.
Friends.
That's why he was there.
There you go.
I bet you there was a lot of white powder at that.
Yeah,
that was the medical.
Yeah, we just figured that light showed up.
BC and Goody Powder is what that was.
Pharmaceutical, no less. Very good. Very good.
I was watching one of those This Is Awesome WWE countdown shows the other day, and they were going over tag team partners. So I was curious as to your guys' Mount Rushmore of tag teams.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a question for Pharaoh, Monte, and Coach Brian Haddad.
Off the top of my head, I know who number one is. It's after that it gets tough.
For me, real quick, I just want to throw out somebody I thought was cool when I was younger. Demolition. They kind of look like Kiss.
Thank you.
So I like
They're
them.
on the Mount Rushmore.
I think they're on. I have to lead with the Road Warriors. I mean, the Road Warrior pop for crying out loud. And look, what they became, Legion of Doom later. Now, give me the original Road Warrior run. Those guys, I think, have to lead it off. I'm good with Demolition being on there. Golly.
Nasty Boys?
No.
They were good, though.
Not for me. Golly, I may have to think about this one a little more.
British Bulldogs?
The British Bulldogs would be up there.
Heart Foundation?
They were good, too.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I'll go through quick. Demolition, Fabulous Freebirds, and don't give me this, there's 3 of them. They're a tag team.
Yes.
I'm sorry to say it, East-West Connection, Adonis and Ventura. That's just a personal pick of mine.
Right.
and then Rocky Johnson and Tony Atlas.
That's a great list, Mike. I like that list. That's definitely different. My list is partially historically responsible, but also some of my favorites. I would say the Road Warriors have to be on anybody's Mount Rushmore. You're just being ignorant if you don't include them.
Hey, take it easy there, buddy.
Yeah, sorry, man. Sorry, man. I just got to tell it like Gordon Soley would tell me to tell it. The Road Warriors, Demolition. This is when my personal favorites come in. The Dudley Boys.
Oh, yeah.
I got to have me some Dudley Boys. And you know what? In respect to the memory of Sika, I'll throw the Samoans, the original Samoans, Offer and Sika on that.
Nice.
On that. You know, there are a lot of other great tag teams that have done major damage in this business. The Hardy Boys. There's plenty of great tag teams you could come up with.
I'll give kind of an old school reach here, but just for their absolute talent, and I know they were over huge in the Midwest, but Ray Stevens and Nick Bockwinkel probably, if they had come along maybe 8 or 10 years later with the advent of television the way it was, I think the things that they were able to do in the ring, especially Stevens was a high flyer early, I think they might have gotten more consideration.
Mike, I'm surprised you didn't mention them, but they are kind of on face value the greatest tag team ever, just on reputation.
It's hard to disagree with Coach Jimmy. I mean, that's the problem with tag teams. It's not so clean as is with wrestling.
Yeah.
You got to put your favorites in there because, if you're just going to go by titles and everything, you guys nailed it. But how don't you put Stevens and Bockwinkel?
And on that note, what I was trying to get at was I'm amazed you didn't say Hogan and Savage.
Because you yelled at me the last
That's right. That's right.
What was that? Mega Powers?
Right.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Dig it.
Golly. No, you're right, though. It is really tough with the tag teams because, I was younger. I enjoyed the Rockers. I thought they were great. But I thought the Rock and Roll Express, and how did we leave out the Midnight Express? Those guys were phenomenal.
I could see them being.
Now, granted, there was again 2 iterations of them. We didn't get Condrey for as long as we'd have liked, but Stan Lane. The fact that Stan Lane stepped in and that tag team was just as good is amazing.
It is amazing.
So those guys were
it is amazing.
Phenomenal.
Yep, they could easily be on anybody's Mount Rushmore.
Coach Brian, Pharaoh, Monte, appreciate you guys stepping in. I'm going to go ahead and step out. Caveman Rick's going to ask you guys one more question, and I'm going to go play a little bit of softball. Hey, good to see y'all, and see you Monday.
Hey, wait a minute. Take me with you.
Oh.
I love softball.
There you go.
All right, last question we got on here. How about this, guys? What do you guys think was the best era of wrestling?
It's going to be hard for me not to say the Attitude Era just because of I'm a few years younger probably than Jimmy and Mike, although not as many as I'd like to be. But for me, I like the Golden Age, but the Attitude Era for me, I could not miss Monday nights, so I'm going to go with that.
So what's the years of that?
That's like 96 to about 2002.
All right, Monte, Pharaoh, what about you guys?
What about you, Mike? You go first.
You go with the Golden Era. I mean, Jimmy, we actually spoke about this last Thursday. I know we're pressed for time. It's very close between the era we're sitting in now and the Golden Era. But, growing up, I have to go with the Golden Era.
Yeah, I agree with Mike. There was nothing like the birth of wrestling becoming the household thing. Yeah, WrestleMania becoming the Super Bowl of wrestling. Hulk Hogan becoming the face of pro wrestling. The first wrestler to be put on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Yeah. The things that happened during the original explosion from, I would say, approximately 84 to almost basically up until when Warrior beats Hogan.
Right on. I think I'd agree. That's my time, but I appreciate you guys coming in today. Caveman Rick filling in for David Hayes here at the end of the show, guys. Tune in on Monday as always. Monday morning, James Hale Show, 7 o'clock. Inside Drive at 11, and afternoon Underdogs back at 4 o'clock. Catch you guys next week. Have a great weekend.
See you, Mike.
Later. America's team plays here.
Swing and a miss. Struck him out. That's number 10.
The Atlanta Braves on ESPN Northwest Florida. Charlie Morton, Max Fried, and Chris Sale lead the Braves' dominant pitching rotation.
That's 18 up, 18 down.